was there ever a discussion of, hey, Porsche's doing a 2-speed transmission, or even Mercedes with their performance?
Never.
There was never a discussion for 2-speed.
No.
Okay, simple enough. Was it a mechanical thing? What was the logic there?
Honestly, I don't think you need a 2-speed when you can have an 8-speed.
I love the answer. You know what? That is a good answer. It's a
Right,
non-PER trained answer.
And we
It's a
also
great
don't need a
answer.
stick. Huh?
What was the logic of taking effectively a mid-sized crossover that's an EV and trying to make that a performance car in America?
2 years ago, we met Sonoma County, Elantra N, Kona N, fabulous cars. The Elantra N is somehow the core DNA of Hyundai N, and now 2 years later, something totally different is here. So we discussed it very much internally. How much of our fun to drive philosophy can we put in an electric car? For the US, I believe a SUV, CUV, IONIQ 5, IONIQ 5N is perfect.
But why not like the 6?
The 6
You
would
have
be
lower center of gravity, all that stuff.
Yeah, you have a lower center of gravity, the body shape is perfect, it's probably more streamlined, and you're a good logical thinker, so I cannot tell you what comes next, but it would be a logical consequence to have something like this as well.
Okay,
but
so
today we would like to focus on IONIQ 5.
I like how you're the one that brought that part up moving into the future.
Did I?
I'm just thinking that the theory, because
Yeah.
you have heavier and you have a higher center of gravity, I would think it would be harder to make something like that size do what that's doing.
But this is already very nimble. Main petrol heads. I mean, we all grew up with combustion engine. I'm a petrol head, I'm a car enthusiast, and I never thought batteries and EVs could do this. So driving this car, seeing the people coming out of this car, they still have that N grin in their face. They're just happy. And all of a sudden they say, maybe this is a possibility. And to see this in people, so we have a convincing job to do. That's why I said it's a transition to electrified high performance, which I believe our engineers did a rather perfect job in creating this vehicle.
Was there a point, an inflection point, at which you guys said, let's take some time before we make a performance version of an electric car? Or was it, let's just go into it?
The company has been a fast follower for many years, but in the transition to electrification, it became more and more a leading entity in the industry. And I think our Hyundai N high performance vehicles and the brand itself is seen as a powerhouse for tech inside the company. So it was the expectation from us to bring a car which gives another edge to what we have already with the EGMP, with the IONIQ 5, the IONIQ 6, to make a high performance vehicle out of this was an expectation, but also a bit of a burden. So we had long discussions as how can we do this to keep our MDNA of corner rascal, racetrack capability, and everyday sports car.
When the remit came from the boss, we're going electric, and N already pre-existed that decision. Was there a decision from the business side of it, that obviously input from design, input from engineering, that like, this is going to be a harder challenge, we need more time?
No.
And if so, did you give them more time?
No. It's every day, this is our responsibility, and we're always driven by our fans and customers. So when you look at the transition of the industry, going electric, going maybe in a different propulsion in the near future, our responsibility is to keep our fans excited. So for me, every day when I wake up, go to the office or go to an event like this, I'm asking myself, can we deliver this fun to drive attitude of Hyundai N? So it doesn't matter if it's electric, hydrogen-based, or combustion engine, we always have to keep our brand pure. So when the request came, let's think about what we can do in high performance battery electric, we've already thought about it. And I was happy that it unleashes.
So you brought up EGMP before,
Yeah.
and for the avoidance of doubt, that is the platform that this car is based on, the IONIQ 6, the EV6, all that's based on. And the Kia folks, you know, your cousins, Actually, I found out recently that you guys don't own 100% of Kia.
Is that true?
I did not know that. But anyway, that's a fun fact. The two cars were developed, but they brought their car to market, the GT, the 600 horsepower car, to market faster. But now that we see both, the personalities are very different. They went with this car that it was like, let's take a gas car, and when they make gas cars go fast, they add more power, maybe beef up the suspension. That's about it. You guys went a very different route. You made everything infinitely adjustable by the owner or driver of the car. Was that a decision?
Very driver-centric, yes.
Not driver-centric. Like, you could go in and literally change, I think, 10 parameters I counted. Everything from the torque, obviously the big thing, the transmission, the sound, all that stuff. Was that something that came immediately, that's the only way to accomplish your goal? Or was it something that came through trying to get a lot of power to go around a track fast that's that heavy, this is the only way we would accomplish it?
In the beginning, we didn't know how it's going to be. So it's a process step by step. Talking with engineers, talking with designers, talking with everybody involved in this project. I think we had many teams, I didn't count, but definitely over 20 teams working on this project, making the best high performance car there can be at this moment with the technology we know. You talked about Kia, and we love working with our colleagues. They just had a different characteristics of performance. We were talking about high-powered vehicles and high-performance vehicles. So there's a stereotype, which is true, that EVs are heavy, they're a bit boring, they go very fast in a straight line, but once you go cornering, once you go on winding roads, on racetracks, it's a bit uncomfortable. So I love the Kia EV6 GT. It's a great car. It got many awards. But for the IONIQ 5N, it was our objective to meet and satisfy the 3 pillars of N performance, which is our characteristics of a high performance car. So to make it nimble, to make it agile, to make it the true sensation of driving between driver and machine, between man and machine, to have this, that you feel in control of a 650 horsepower car and not the car in control of you. That was the objective. And if that needs sound shifting, torque vectoring, if that needs different type of tires, especially developed for the car, if that needs all of this, then yes, we put it in.
Was any of this co-developed when the GT was developed, or were you completely independent and you had the vision of, or the advantage of seeing their car before your car came out?
That's a good question. Now, of course we're aligning our things and aligning product philosophies and then when things come to market. So yes, we are talking. And
a little feedback for you. So I've driven both, obviously. And I was amazed at how different the cars are.
Yes.
Like, drastic different. Yeah, the EV6 GT is super fun, but it's a mess trying to drive it quickly. There isn't composure there. This, I love you, man, but I expected this to be a mess as well, and it's not. The whole thing with the torque blipping, adjusting the torque, and basically mimicking gear changes, I thought it was a gimmick going into it. It actually works, and the reason why, it controls the weight of the car.
Absolutely.
So when they first came to you, again, this is your business. You run the business unit. Did you look at them like, wait a minute, you want to have gear shifting in an electric car? What was your reaction?
2 years ago, you remember, we talked together with Albert Biermann.
Yes. Who's
the initiator of Hyundai N and the first person who actually understood what fun to drive for Hyundai N actually means. He's great in putting a concept together which works well in the combination of things the car offers. And exactly the same was done with the IONIQ 5N. So it was our request from the people who actually listen to our fans on social media and in communities to make that car, the first EV N model, as great as the combustion engine model already is. So if that needs, and the sound ignition,
Yeah.
which is the first shifting
Yeah.
sound in this car, is actually simulates the 8-wet DCT transmission from the i30N, the Kona N, the Elantra N. It's exactly the same type of torque levels. I mean, there's a 21,000 RPMs in this one-gear EV car, and then we reduced it to 6,750, and we have a torque limiter in there. We cut off the torque, give immediate torque again when you shift. So there's this jolt and this push feeling you have. To be quite honest, if you close your eyes, you don't know which car you're in. You think you're driving a combustion engine, and when you go too high in revs, you think you're actually hurting an engine. This is how great this was done. So yes, when they came to us, we said, please continue, do more.
So for the avoidance of doubt, you're the one who told the engineers, I need you to figure this out. I don't know how. I just need you to, I need this to feel like an existing performance car. I don't need you to redefine a performance car.
That is basically true. Some of it develops in the discussion between us,
Yeah.
but most of it comes from us. And you remember the Rolling Labs in 22, the RN22E and the Envision 74. So this is the playground for engineers to do something which is over the top, things out of the box.
Yeah.
So many of those things then we find in something like the IONIQ 5N. So I don't believe there's one person who says this is where we have to go. I think at Hyundai N, it's more a mix of teams discussing together and saying, this is what we need to achieve. And we're always guided by the DNA of N.
Was there ever a discussion of, hey, Porsche's doing a 2-speed transmission, or even Mercedes with their performance?
Never.
There was never a discussion for 2-speed.
No.
Okay, simple enough. Was it a mechanical thing? What was the logic there?
Honestly, I don't think you need a 2-speed when you can have an 8-speed.
I love the answer. You know what? That is a good answer. It's a
Right,
non-PR trained answer.
And we
It's a
also
great
don't need a
answer.
stick. Huh?
Well, this is a good point, being non-PR trained answers. Let's go a little bit to your background, because I know your background, but these guys don't.
I was working for a long time Mercedes-Benz
Like
in
what roles at
Stuttgart,
Mercedes?
and I was working as a product manager, communications responsible. I had the chance at the end to go into connectivity, and I was working for Mercedes-Benz vans at the end, and connected the Sprinter, Vita. Yeah.
Wow. They're hitting it hard on
This
this
is a beautiful
one.
sound. Huh?
Yeah, this is great.
They also
Wait,
connect.
oh, he just went off. We have to get his name. Isn't it amazing?
It is amazing.
You see the car goes fast, but you don't
You
hear
hear-
it as normal. You
But
hear the tires.
You hear the tires, the wind, and
That's it. Look, here we go again. This is the slow poke of the group. I like the orange, by the way. The orange
it is
pretty
great.
cool.
It
Yeah.
is great.
Okay,
But
we interrupted.
For the viewers, we have to say, inside of the car, for the driver, you have the sound.
Actually, you brought something really interesting today.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else is doing this, but you launched that single car series, and from what I understand, you're saying that you can offer each team a different audio experience to amplify outside
Yes,
the car.
as well.
How's that going to work?
Well, it has speakers to the outside, and for the one-meg race car, the IONIQ 5N EN1 Cup car, which series we're running this year in South Korea. There's 10 different sounds, 10 different teams, and we have a qualifying, and the fastest can choose their own sound, and they're involved in how that sound should be.
So does the slowest have like some penalty sound? It's like
He just gets to
it's like
choose
a clown
last.
car sound.
He
Is
just
that what
gets
it
to
is?
choose last. We don't punish anybody. All sounds should be cool, but they get to
so
choose
you're
last.
turning the sound into a prize. That's what it sounds like?
Yes.
That's a neat idea.
It's all a little fun, you know. Hyundai N is always fun. We're the wild side of Hyundai. We don't have to be as disciplined or serious. We can be a little
I think that's
little
something you got
spice.
from Albert.
little spice.
Albert's got a wild child.
Albert is just like that.
That is
Yes.
Albert.
I cannot talk, but he's a naughty child. Can I say that? Albert, I'm so sorry, but we learned a lot from you.
Well, the fact that these cars are doing this, true story.
Yes.
This came from him tracking like
Yes.
a 1960 Beetle
I
at
am
the
sure.
Nürburgring. That's
I am
literally the germination of what we're
Yes.
seeing right now.
Yes.
Anyway, back to your story. So Mercedes, a number of positions.
Yes.
Give me an idea. Like, they come to you. They're not asking you to come to Korea like they did Albert and Peter, but they're asking you to make a switch.
Yes.
What went through your mind? Like, do I want to do this?
Well, this was a little earlier in my career than I was, I don't even know, mid 40s, I guess.
So this is your nice way of saying you're younger than Peter and Albert.
It was at a different stage of the
Yeah.
of the career and my what I wanted to achieve. So when they offered me I mean, it's an entire brand for the German market, and I love the car industry, and I wanted to see if a challenger brand like Hyundai can even get any further within a very saturated German brand-minded industry. So working for Mercedes, which I love the brand, I love the company, was definitely a hard decision to leave. But the challenge to make something out of Hyundai and understand it myself, and also learn myself from a company which is an Asian, South Korean company, was very, very satisfying until today. And then
And this was what, 2016
this
you
was
made the switch?
16, yes, October 16.
I mean, the Europeans that are watching the show know this. Europeans were not receptive, shall we say, to brands that weren't European, only up until recently.
Yes.
Was 2016, was that still an issue for you at Hyundai? Or were they accepting at that point?
No, they were accepting. The DNA of Hyundai was always that it's very accessible, transparent. They always deliver what they talk about. So they weren't that big in the overall huge marketing story, which I appreciated, and I thought that was quite humble. This is also, I learned it now being in Seoul, that the culture is very warm-hearted, very humble, very down-to-earth. And this is what I appreciate myself as a person. So the company also matched my personal preference. And back in the day, Hyundai as a company, it's always good to see the cars on the road. And when I heard that they also do a high-performance brand, which was thought about in 2013, launched in 2015 by the spoken of Albert Biermann at the Frankfurt Auto Show on the 15th of September 2015, then I came just 1 year later and had the honor to introduce the i30N to the German market. I remember 7th of October being at the Nordschleife with the 100 first customers, getting their badge signed by Albert Biermann, putting it on their dashboard. It's just a wonderful story. And to do this, to build up something kind of startup-ish and not as traditional, was enough fuel and energy to get me going and do the switch.
Was the move to Korea, was that a sole function of you see what I did there, sole function?
Sole function.
Was that to make the switch to run the N brand, to be the vice president?
Yeah. This was, I got into Hyundai racing when we did TCR Germany with Team Engstler, and then we actually won it twice. I had very much contact with HMSG, our motorsports unit in Alzenau, close to Frankfurt, which I'm responsible for now. So I met really good people asking me to come over to Seoul and be responsible for the N brand. That was a wonderful experience until now, and I'm there for 4 years now.
So that brings us to an obvious question. You run the performance division of a major car company.
Yes.
Do you have a cool car at home, or when you were living in Germany, were you doing track events on your own?
Working for a car company like Mercedes-Benz for quite some time just puts the high performance idea and spirit into you. And then putting this, and you know by then, it creates value for a company. And then having heard that Hyundai is creating its own high performance brand, is knowing that Albert Biermann was involved, and then Peter Schreier did some of the great designs for this brand, and this brand is continuously evolving. It caught my interest to actually put this high performance DNA into Hyundai. And as I said, I was honored to launch the first high performance car, the i30N, into the German market. This was for me the main reason to start. But into racing, I started with Hyundai. We did customer racing for TCR Germany, then I went to the Nürburgring a lot of times. So met the right people who then asked me to come over to Germany, because we do create value. It's the most profitable cars within the company. It's a niche market. We are there for enthusiasts, for car fans and lovers. And word of mouth brings it and expands the volume. We're introducing the N brand into many more countries at this moment. There's China last year, there will be Japan this year.
What's the biggest market right now?
Oh, it's Europe still.
Wow, that's quite a statement.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about your former employer and Albert's former employer, it's the U.S., but you clearly are making some headway, so people are accepting you. Which brings us to a very obvious question. I know you've got this, like, you showed us this pyramid of, like, the hierarchy of N and all this stuff. And it starts at
Well, there has to be a strategy. Yeah?
I get it, but will there ever be, like, a standalone N? Are you thinking, like, a standalone, it's only as an N car? Kind of like an AMG GT, but, like, Korean.
Yes.
Okay, that's a very confident answer. I'll go with that.
But let's keep it at that. I mean, there's many things we have to improve. We have to bring the weight down from battery electric cars. There's some room for even more performance. And we're thinking about not being a derivative anymore, and also being very confident, very dedicated in.
I know you probably have announced this, but refresh my memory. What's the plan for keeping internal combustion engine going? Is there a deadline, or are you just going to keep it as long as
there's no deadline. As long as demand is there, as long as regulations keep us doing this, we're not going to disappoint our fans.
I knew you were a smart man. That was the right answer. On that note, you've never been on the show before, and we end our episodes a bit differently here. Well, we turn the episodes around to the audience, and we throw a question to them. So this is an opportunity for you to get some feedback from the audience. So what do you want to learn from the audience? Some feedback about N, about this car, about other cars. What question do you want to pose to them? And then you could see it in the comments. And they are brutally honest. So what question?
I like brutal honesty, I have to say this. Just let me know what your expectations are from N, and then we'll try to meet your expectations. Just let us know whatever you like, to be quite honest.
Okay.
We listen to you.
You have literally opened up the floodgates. I can already tell it's going to be the N74 in brown with velour seats and a manual transmission. It's probably going to be that, but I'm interested to see. So you heard, man, this is the man that runs the show over there. So be honest and be somewhat realistic, because I think this could be some future casting of what we could see from Till and his team over in Korea. Answer the man's question in the comments below, or via our social media, MotoManTV, all word, MotoManTV, all word, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And with that, if you found this episode of value, highly suggest that you watch the full Inside the MotoMan Studio episode of the man that kind of inspired him to go to Korea, Albert Biermann. You can see that episode here. Until I see you in the next episode, bis später.
Thank you so much, George.
Thank you so much for
Bis später, vielen Dank.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.